Yes, indeed, folks, you're listening to Blue Please here on CynicalBrit.com with myself, Total Biscuit. Okay, so we're going to talk about Cataclysm. We'll talk about what I've played of it thus far. And this section's going to be talking about instances specifically. Now, I've only managed to get into one of them, because the other one is kind of broken. Yes, indeed. It's a little bit screwed up, the Throne of Tides specifically. As far as I'm aware, there are only 2 instances currently available in Wrath, and the rest are still in implementation. Bear in mind, you might call this a beta, but this is a rough beta. This has only just got out of alpha, and it was fairly rough then. Oh, okay, seriously, fairly rough? What are you talking about? It was a disgrace! It was so very bad. They haven't even fixed the whole festival thing yet, so you've got random braziers floating in the sky. It's pretty pro. Oh, whatever. Right, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Blackrock Caverns and what I think they mean, hopefully, for the future of raiding. Now, the next build is supposed to have Deep Home in it, so I'm told. So I'll be in there as quickly as humanly possible. In the meantime, let's talk. So, Blackrock Caverns, this is the first instance, and the place that you go in order to get to Blackrock Caverns is actually underneath Blackwing Lair. You go up the chain, and you go into the entrance where you would usually find, at any rate, Blackwing Lair, and then you take a right, and then you go down a set of stairs that didn't used to be there before. You go down a few flights of stairs, blah blah blah, and suddenly there's the entrance to Blackrock Cavern. Alright, so, what is in Blackrock Cavern, you might ask? Well, I can think of a few things. There are 5 bosses in Blackrock Cavern. There are many mobs in Blackrock Cavern. There is a crazy orc-troll hybrid thing that hits for 17,000% extra damage cavern. Yeah. It's some interesting stuff. Not the most interesting thing to look at, but it's a good starter for 10, at any rate. It's good stuff. Okay, so, let's talk about it. What exactly do I expect from instances in Wrath of the Lich King? Well, I can tell you what I expected from Wrath instances. Good instances. What did I get? Garbage. What do I expect from the instances in Cataclysm? Well, before I tried them, I expected some fairly terrible stuff. I hoped against hope that it wouldn't suck. However, it kind of sucked. At least I thought so. I went in a little bit in the alpha. The thing is, everything was so broken in the alpha that the design was absolute garbage. Now, in the beta, they've really polished things up a little bit, and that first instance is worth playing. So you got 5 bosses, and you head on down through a sort of like a Molten Core / Blackrock Depths kind of area. Not as big as Blackrock Depths, so no crazy 27 boss instance right here. However, what you do have is a fairly nicely produced dungeon. The first boss is pretty simple. Honestly, I've shown you in the video, and I imagine you guys have seen it. It's got two major abilities, and you've also got to watch out for positioning, and you've got to clear the room properly first. You can't just pull it, because it will pull packs that are linked to it, and then you're dead, as we found out the first time we attempted that. That was kind of embarrassing. It's like, hi guys, let's reset the instance, because this video is going to make us look really dumb. Oh dear, that was fairly bad. Now, as regards to the trash clearing mechanic that is tied in to the instance, i.e. the big troll guy, the troll berserker, the brute. That's kind of weird. I'm still trying to figure out why it's there. I mean, why would you put it there when you could just, not have the trash? If you're not going to let us fight the trash, then why is the trash even there to begin with? I suppose it does add a nice surprise to those who have gone in there for the first time, but I don't think it adds anything after that. It's kind of neat, though. So, NPC interaction in dungeons, particularly the acquisition of allied NPCs, even if they're completely out of your control, it's a good thing. It's not a waste of time, per se, but it's just not the greatest feature in the world. It doesn't serve a big practical purpose, but again, it's a scripted event, and scripted events inside of 5-mans I feel are pretty important. So, what else have we got? Second boss. Now, I discovered after this that there's a pretty cool mechanic involved in the second boss. You'll have seen on the video that after a certain amount of time, the 3 zealots turn into evolved draconoids, and suddenly damage gets crazy. They beat the crap out of the main tank in a way that will terrify anybody. However, what I did discover is that you can interrupt the beams. There are beams that fire out into these zealots, and there's an evolution process. If you stand in between the captured Twilight Drake and the zealots, you can interrupt the beam. And you know what it'll do? It'll turn you into an evolved draconoid. That's bad. You kill all your party. Everybody dies. It's a great griefing mechanic. But yeah, it's a little bit scary. So what you do is you stand in it for a little while, and then you get out of it. You stand in, you get out. You stand in, you get out. You'll be reminded, I would imagine, of the nether spike mechanic, whereby there are certain beams that you can't just stand in for the entire time. You've got to jump in, jump out. It's pretty good, and I have a feeling it's going to wipe a bunch of groups. So there you go. Right. What else have we got? Third boss. Pretty unique mechanics overall. What you've got is a set of mechanics whereby the mobs on the floor are not actually mobs unless they are near a source of flame, specifically a mob called Conflagration. If they're near that, then beams will shoot out, beams of fire, and they melt these globules that are on the floor, and they become mobs. And you don't want those because they have nasty fire debuffs on them. I would expect that this will be sort of Babby's first encounter with these kind of things, and that they will feature in a much more dangerous format in later instances and raid encounters. It's neat and it's new, which is something that, honestly, I didn't really expect to come out with. What else have we got? Well, we've got the boss in question. You have to actually move the boss into a brazier in the middle of the room in order to melt a set of armor. So, think very much sort of Hydros, where you've got to move the boss in order to make sure that you don't die horribly. It's not quite the same thing, but it's about as close as I can get to it. It's a neat mechanic, and again, it's gonna wipe new groups, and that's good. It really is. That's exactly what you want. Because by the time your guys get there, by the time your new players get up to level 80, they should be expected to understand basic dungeon mechanics. And you know where they're going to get them? Oh, I don't know. Maybe all the other dungeons that they should be running? Of course, the looking for dungeon system will help. The remodeling of a lot of the dungeons will help. The better loot system and the better questing system, that will help. It will get people into dungeons early. It will get them weaned on the basic mechanics. By the time we get to something tough, oh look, they suddenly know what they're doing. Wonderful, isn't it? Absolutely wonderful. That sounds like a very good thing indeed. Fourth boss. Kind of a gimmick. But what I did find out is if you actually kill Runty, i.e. the little pop at the back, before you kill the beast, or indeed the beauty, as we call it, it will go berserk and one-shot you. So again, just a little bit of a gimmick mechanic there. It doesn't pose any genuine threat. And again, neither do those damn puppies. Can we stop being told to slaughter... I don't know, it makes me feel bad. Ugh. I can't deal with it, folks. I cannot deal with it. And of course, the final boss, whereby kiting makes its glorious and, quite frankly, overdue return. For a first instance, that is a very strong entry. Let's compare it to the first instances of the other expansions. Well, we can have a look at Burning Crusade. First instance in there, what do we got? We got Ramparts. It was alright, it was pretty good. Not the best instance I've ever seen, but it's okay. What else do we have? Rather the Lich King, we had Utgard Keep. Garbage. Absolute, complete, and total garbage. It really was. It was a bad instance overall. I remember running it with the Wild Radio guys. When we got into the beta, we made a video of that, and we're just nonplussed. I mean, there were a couple of things that were kind of crazy and neat, like when we wiped and like when there was fire, But aside from that, it is a really dull instance. It is not difficult at all. This instance has a number of different and unusual mechanics that I think are going to really excite some people. What really excites me is the potential for genuine, challenging heroic modes from this. Now this comes entirely down to what Blizzard decides to do with heroic. They have claimed that they will make heroic modes heroic again for 5-mans. God, I hope so. Oh, God, I hope so. Because heroics in Wrath of the Lich King have been an absolute nightmare in terms of how easy they are, how boring they are, what an AoE face roll. Absolutely dis-frickin-graceful. Across the board, no doubt about that. Not impressed. Not impressed by that. What about comparing them to TBC 5-mans? For what I've seen thus far, we're looking at instances that are at least comparable, if not better. They're taking the TBC route, as in, they are not scared of making dungeons that have more than 4 bosses. They're not scared of making dungeons that take longer than 15 minutes. And hopefully they are not scared of making those heroic modes really dangerous and heroic again. I saw the potential. I really did. You've got trash packs that we could deal with, but if you just buff them up a little bit in heroic mode, they would actually require real CC and real coordination. You've got bosses that have unique mechanics that could go really crazy. Here's an example. The third boss, the one where you have to melt that armor. While he's in the brazier, you take stacking fire damage. On heroic mode, triple that damage. Make it so that your tank has got to be completely on the ball and time things absolutely perfectly. Maybe add another mechanic, make it even more interesting. When he's got that armor up, make him hit 300% harder. As in, oh god, it's going to kill the tank in about 2 seconds flat unless you get it in there. Chains. Make it kill you straight away. As far as I'm aware, the chains and the pulverize mechanic are the first boss, whereby he chains you near him and then charges up an AoE ability a la Shade of Iran. That could be made deadly. I think it might already be deadly, but I can't confirm that. The earthquakes under the ground, make them deadly. Have more of them. Spread them out across the arena. Make them more frequent. What else have we got? Beauty, where Beauty is having fire spouts come out. Make 4 or 5 times as many fire spouts. Cover the entire frickin' place with them. You remember back in the Zul'Aman days where there was that boss that threw bombs all over the place and you had to be really careful about where you stood? Do that. Use that mechanic. I haven't seen that mechanic used since. Do it. It's a great mechanic. It's really challenging. It makes you have to wake up. It's like, quick, move, move, move. Have a series of fire plumes come up, not just one set. Make that dangerous. Give it a fire breath. Make sure positioning is an element there. Give it a completely group-wide fear. Right now, it only, as far as I'm aware, fears one person. Think about all of those mechanics. So many mechanics that could potentially become extremely good. What else? Well, the last boss. How would you make that heroic? Well, there are so many different ways. As well as adding new mechanics and abilities, the boss's adds that you have to kite, instead of just having a stacking healing debuff, why don't they apply a stacking damage debuff as well? So, if your kiter fails, your kiter, dead. Completely toast. Maybe give it a couple of seconds to pick up, considering the fact that he will swap position and you've got to grab the aggro as quickly as possible. So many possibilities. It's fertile ground, ladies and gentlemen. It is ready for Blizzard to hopefully sow a bountiful harvest of good content. But it really does lie in Blizzard's court. It depends entirely on what their design philosophy is. If you wanted me to give you an optimistic prediction, then based on what I've seen thus far, Blizzard is going down that route. They're giving you reasonably challenging normal modes and challenging heroic 5-man modes. That should be heartening to everybody in this room. And if it's not, I would have to ask you, why exactly? Why are you listening to my show again? Why is that? If you didn't already think that way. And for God's sake, I should have driven you off by now if you don't. My name's Total Biscuit. You're listening to Blue Please here on CynicalBrit.com. I think it's about time for some Nubcake news. Enjoy.
from the Blue Police Tower in Howling Fjord, it's Nupcake News with award-winning anchor Total Biscuit, bringing you all the news that matters, whether you realize it or not.
Welcome to this week's edition of Nupcake News. Coming up later in the program, a startling revelation that Blizzard makes video games. All this time they were believed to manufacture treadmills with mouths that literally eat your money. But first, rumours of the impending cataclysm lurking in the future have sparked fierce debate amongst Azeroth's various political factions. In a recent lecture by prominent troll scientist Elgar, it was claimed that Azeroth is on the brink of disaster, a cataclysmic event that will cause major climate change, as well as cause Mankirk's wife to disappear into a sinkhole. When asked why Mankirk's wife had not been moved to a more secure location, authorities are quoted as saying that they couldn't find her. In response to this dire warning, several of Azeroth's more vocal groups, including several prominent captains of industry, have spoken out against alarmism and the big government agenda. I'm joined in the studio by the CEO of Drown Innocent Puppies LLC, Dr. Boom. Mr. Boom, welcome to the program.
Pleasure to be here, Total Biscuit, as always. May I say that you're looking somewhat more portly than usual? May I recommend one of our cyanide-based weight loss products? Guaranteed to ensure your subpar appearance never bothers you again.
As tempting as that sounds right now, Mr. Boom, I think I'll pass. Could you please explain your opposition to the recent lecture by Elgar?
Azeroth is becoming a joke amongst the denizens of the interdimensional vortex. We somehow saved the planet from re-origination by the Titans, only to take a massive economic tumble in the process, which has left us branded as the Banana Republic of the known galaxy. Azeroth needs progress. It does not need pointless scare tactics by an ex-politician whose agenda is geared towards more pointless government regulation. I mean, come on! Would you really trust the government to handle anything these days? Variant Rid seems to believe every problem can be solved by hitting it hard enough. Thrall is too busy whispering sweet nothings in the ear of that blonde arcade strumpet, and if what I hear is true, the Horde is about to appoint a bloodthirsty maniac who could barely string a sentence together as its head of state! The last thing we want is to put more power into the hands of these incompetent, bumbling statesmen.
But couldn't your company be accused of doing far worse? Your industrial base of Kazan was built under an active volcano. By all accounts, the entire island is filthy, and its inhabitants can barely go 5 minutes without blowing each other sky high with explosives, let alone properly manage Azeroth's global economy. How would you respond to that?
I'll have you know that our company scientists are the best in the business, and they have assured us beyond a shadow of a doubt that absolutely nothing could possibly go wrong on the island of Kazan. The volcano is not scheduled to erupt for another 50,000 years at least, give or take a few eons, and as regards to that so-called filth, that is Drown Innocent Puppies LLC premium grade industrial waste, patent pending. Here, I brought you a sample.
Oh dear God, is that thing moving?
Proprietary Goblin nanotechnology, state of the art. Though if you want to get the version that doesn't kill your entire family, it'll cost extra.
Thank you, Mr. Boom. That was very illuminating. The Goblin industrial cartels are not the only groups speaking out against the alleged cataclysm. We received a strongly worded letter scrawled on the back of a beer mat from a group that calls itself the Freedom Coalition for Truth and also Automatic Firearms. Several hours were spent deciphering the message that we initially believed to be in a complex code, but in fact lacked any sort of coherent spelling or sentence structure. We believe it said the following: "This so-called cataclysm is nothing but a ploy by the corrupt socialistic government to take away our freedoms, jobs, blast-the-shot launchers, and blue women. Not only are we confident that Elune, the Light, and or Great Father Winter will save us, but we also have obtained information that shows these so-called scientists have been fabricating their numbers. The proof of this is simple. Yesterday, it was snowing in the Alterac Mountains. How could that be if this cataclysm is changing the climate? More to the point, wouldn't Northrend have melted by now? This freedom-hating garbage should be killed with bullets at once, as is our constitutional right." Well, I don't know about you, but considering the amount of words they managed to fit on that back of the beer mat, this group must have godlike powers and will save us from the cataclysm, which won't come anyway. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go grab a lungful of thick, smoggy, toxic liberty. This has been Nupcake News. Good night.